Breaking news, we're just moments away from Donald Trump's big announcement in Iowa. His campaign just now declaring that former Governor Sarah Palin will indeed endorse the GOP frontrunner. Will her support be the game changer in Iowa and in the election? With me now, former presidential candidate Herman Cain, Katrina Pearson, David McIntosh, and Sheriff David Clarke. Katrina, let me go to you first. A lot of anticipation over this. A lot of people thinking perhaps this moves the needle enough to distance Trump from Cruz in Iowa. And if Trump wins Iowa, there's a chance he could run the table.
Well, absolutely. Charles, you know how extremely coveted the endorsement of Governor Sarah Palin is. She was one of the original leaders of the grassroots Tea Party movement, and she has really been just a woman that's been out there fighting for the conservative causes, fighting for limited government, fighting for pro-life, and is recognized by one of the most strongest leaders in the country for all those reasons. David
McIntosh, listen, I'm not sure where you are right now with respect to your opinion with Donald Trump. I know early on you guys had launched an ad campaign against him. It looked like it had initial success. Now his campaign is something of a steamroller. Is there any way to stop it now in your mind?
I think the key is not going to be endorsements. You know, Sarah Palin endorsed a candidate who lost up in Alaska, who we endorsed the winner, Dan Sullivan, precisely because people are looking for real conservatives. And Trump is not a real conservative. I think the caucus goers in Iowa are savvy. They're used to this. I think it will be a competition between Cruz and Trump in Iowa, other people in New Hampshire, and I don't think Trump's going to make it. This endorsement won't be enough to get him back into the momentum he once had.
I don't know.
Charles, it's not just Sarah Palin's endorsement. I mean, we have to look at also someone like Phyllis Schlafly, another conservative woman who has been very revered by the conservative movement. Sarah Palin endorsed Ted Cruz when he ran for Senate. He'll even admit that he may not even be Senator Cruz today without the support of Governor Sarah Palin. Her supporters are very committed to her, and they're going to work for the candidates that she endorses.
You know, that was 2012. Today, I think her popularity is way down. The voters are going to look at it and realize Trump's for raising taxes, he's for universal health care, he's for eminent domain abuse, and isn't the conservative they think he is.
On the screen, we're showing, by the way, guys, I just want to let the audience know.
That's not in his policy.
Because you guys are remote, we just had up the tweet from Senator Cruz acknowledging that if it were not for the endorsement and the help of Sarah Palin, he would not have made it into the Senate. So earlier there was a little snafu. Someone from his camp came out a little negatively, which got a response from Bristol Palin, a retweet from Sarah Palin, and then something of a backtrack, if you will, from Cruz. Sheriff Clarke, let me go to you real quick, because already we've heard that Donald Trump in this conversation is not a real conservative. What is a real conservative these days?
It's interesting. These unconventional alliances continue on the GOP side. I don't know if this moves the needle much, but if I'm Donald Trump, I'd rather have her inside my tent than outside my tent. Lobbing rocks and bottles at it. I think this will help him more down the line than it does today. So, we'll have to wait and see. But her name still carries some weight in some conservative circles. But you know what, Charles? Endorsements are more window dressing than anything that's inside baseball. I don't know too many voters that say, I'm going to vote for X because they're endorsed by so-and-so. As a matter of fact, when I run in my elections, 4 of them so far, I never get any endorsements. The only endorsement I see is that of the American voter.
Well, we have someone here in the studio who's seeking all the American voters at one point. The conservative question, though, I mean, yes, because you've got a couple of things here. Donald Trump's grab for the evangelicals, and Donald Trump's trying to get more of the bona fides, if you will, with respect to being a true conservative, in part because of his background. Let's face it, he's done a lot of things with Democrats. He's done things with eminent domain. He's done things that traditionally go against the conservative values, and he's trying to say, all that's behind me. This sort of helps a lot, doesn't it?
Not a lot.
Really?
I've got to agree with Sheriff Clarke 100%. An endorsement may draw a few voters, but I don't think it's a game changer. The big announcement
even
today,
when they're neck and neck in a place like this.
Even when they're neck and neck. The game changer is the other announcement today, and that is Governor Branstad basically encouraged his constituents in Iowa to not vote for Ted Cruz because he's against the ethanol subsidies. That's going to be a bigger impact, in my opinion, than the endorsement of Sarah Palin.
I'm glad you brought that up. Doesn't it take a certain amount of political guts to go into Iowa and say, hey, this is crony capitalism, it's against my core belief, and I'm against it? Maybe it costs him some votes, but maybe it might get those voters who say, I had a couple of tweets today, including a farmer in Iowa says, listen, I'm a farmer, and I appreciate Ted Cruz's stance on this.
Ted Cruz was 100% honest. When I was campaigning and I was going into Iowa when I ran 4 years ago, my staff was most nervous about if that question came up. Fortunately, it didn't come up because I was going to take the same position that Ted Cruz took, even if it cost me votes. I was not going to pander to the people. And let's be clear about what Ted Cruz said. He said it should be phased out, not immediately cut, but that's the way it's been presented. I happen to think the way a lot of Iowans are going to look at that as he's talking about cutting it cold turkey, and that's not what he's saying.
Right.
I believe that Sarah Palin's endorsement may change the order of 1, 2, 3 in terms of Cruz, Trump, and Rubio, but it's not a major game changer.